Hey teacher friends, summer absolutely flew by like normal, but I'm getting really excited to welcome in a new batch of kids, get the room set up, make a few changes for the new school year. What I'm also really pumped about is that all of our ELA classes are going to have time specifically set aside for independent reading. So that does take a lot of implementation and thinking about details that go into this. So this ginormous topic, I'm going to split down into a few different topics for you. So this first video is just going to be about the things that either you need to physically set up or things that you need to think about, like procedure wise, before the kids even walk in on the first day of school. So first thing I want to talk about the actual books. So you really need to think about how you want these books to be arranged on your shelves. There's a lot of different ways to do this. Some people do them by genre, some people have them in bins by genre. I have mine in alphabetical order by author's last name. I do this because it is really similar to a library or the kids going to a bookstore or Barnes and Noble. So they've already had some experience with finding a book that way. Mine are actually also color coded though, and a teacher put this on TPT, and these are actually like mailing labels that I printed on. So every letter by author's last name has a different color. So if for some reason a middle schooler has forgotten their alphabet, it's also color coded. So it is middle schooler proof. You'd be surprised though. A lot of them don't put them back in the right way anyways. For the new books that are being provided to us, I know that they are coming labeled and they are coming in bins, or they're providing us with bins, something like that. I am going to see if it's at all feasible for me to like meld what they give me into my current system. The only thing I'm nervous about is that if I have like two working systems happening in my room, if the kids like don't know where certain things goes, and like that's just going to cause chaos, and it's going to just cause like stress for me. So hopefully I can set up my shelves in a certain way where like that kind of flows. So stay tuned for that because we will see how that goes. So yeah, I think that's all for the actual physical books themselves. The next thing that you need to think about before the kids show up on the first day of school is your check-in and check-out process. Now, before I go through the different options, I kind of want to give a disclaimer here that I am not chill about a lot of things in my classroom, but this is one of the things that I'm weirdly super chill about. The certain things that I've tried over the past few years just haven't worked with my personality and the way I like my room to run. So I honestly don't really have a process. So I'll kind of get there in a second. But let me go through the options that require like that are more systematic. So you could just go the old school like paper binder route and like set up a little table, make a bunch of copies, and it's just like name, date, title, and then like a check back in box of like the date that they turned it in. Super simple. Or you can take like the same spirit of that table and make it into an Excel sheet and put that into Google Classroom. So then the kids can get to that document from any Chromebook and fill it out for whatever they need to do. There also is an option. There are certain apps that you could use in your room. There's one called BookSource. I've never used that one, but I have used one that was pretty similar. The only problem that I had, and I don't know if the kids would be able to get to this one specifically on Google Classroom or through a Chromebook. The one that I had a few years ago, the kids had to have my phone. So I had like scanned in all the barcodes of my classroom library, and then if a kid like wanted to check it out, it's like almost like being in a real library. They had to like rescan the barcode using my cell phone. Now, that didn't work for me, one, because I like just ran out of time to like scan every single book that I had. But then, I have 4 blocks of kids, and kids will come into my classroom when they're not technically like in my block, either because they finished a book or like they finished it that morning or whatever, and they want a new one before they go to their other classes. Like, I want them to be freely able to do that. As long as they're quiet at the back of the room, like, I do not care. But if I had to stop and like give them my phone to check it out, like, no, that's not gonna happen. So that's why that one did not work for me. Now back to my process. I don't really have one. But if a kid like comes in on a random day, or like not in the block with me, then they kind of just like wave to me from the back. They like put theirs, like I see them reshelve theirs correctly with my system, and then they kind of just like wave to me that they're taking another one, and I'm good. One of the things I do to ensure that I lose as few books as possible, which I've got to be honest with you, no matter your system, no matter what you set up, again, I've tried multiple of these, just be mentally and emotionally prepared to lose 10 to 15 books in a year. Adults lose stuff, kids are going to lose stuff. It's just the name of the game when you decide to share your classroom library. So, but what I do to ensure that I lose as few as possible is actually the majority of kids do not take their books out of my room. The kids who take their novels out of my room are kids that are reading on their off time in math and science. There's not a lot of them that do that. I mean, I think like we all kind of know our kids that like to read, and then you have to tell them to put the book away. So like I got those kids. I would love to say that my kids go home, my middle schoolers go home and read 20 minutes a night. Majority of them are not going to do that. So I tell them, like, if you're not for real going to do that, like, I would just prefer for you to be honest with yourself and keep the book in the classroom. So I just have like milk crates for every block. So when they come in and it's their reading time, they can take the book. If they can come in the morning and take their book, if they want it in math class, like whatever. That's been the best system for me. And then when they're done with it, like they usually tell me, because I like to celebrate with them. But then I just say, hey, can you go reshelve it? Write it down in your notebook. We'll be good to go. Okay, now let's talk about anchor charts. Now, when I'm talking about anchor charts, I am talking about your written and explicit expectations for either the physical things of your library, which is what we just talked about, like check in, check out, like how the books are labeled, and then the expectations about what silent reading actually looks like and sounds like in your classroom. Now, this is the exact same as when I have to teach even middle schoolers how to come into my classroom quietly, how to find their do nows, how to spend the first 5 minutes of my room. It's the same as teaching the procedure of like when and where do you sharpen your pencil, or when do you use the bathroom, or how do you appropriately ask me to do either of those things. I need to be as specific as possible. So that means in the first few weeks, first few months, I am slightly annoying to them. If I am not nitpicky a little bit with them in those first few weeks and first few months, then this is going to fall apart by November. So if I can be hardcore with them about what I want for reading time and like the physical part of the library, then I am just going to set myself up for a less hectic year. So the things that I have up in my room. Now, I just have like paper versions of my anchor charts because I wasn't gonna like bring my anchor charts up in my house. So the first one, I'll do that in a second. The first one, classroom library expectations. Now, again, like these do not have to be exactly like this one or exactly like mine. But some usual typical things that are on these is 1, treat the book with respect. 2, borrow one book at a time. That is important. Some kids will try to like hoard piles of books. No, we don't do that. Check in and out every book that you borrow. So like whatever your system is, like I would probably add a little caveat that's like in the binder or go to Google Classroom. Some people do like to keep books from, where'd that one book go? Loved books will end up looking like this. This is okay. I tell my kids this is okay. This, nobody did this on purpose. This book is loved. So to keep them a little bit longer, not having to tape them, a lot of teachers will give each kid like a gallon Ziploc bag, and then if the kid is like taking it to other rooms or taking them home, if that's what you want your kids to do, then they need to be in the plastic baggie. I don't really give my kids plastic bags because not many of them take them out of the room, but that is a thing you could do. So this one has the put them in a Ziploc bag. Reshelf each book correctly. I also teach my kids that like we don't do this with our books. Nope, we don't do this. We use bookmarks. We also do not dog ear my books. Again, we use bookmarks, which I provide them with. I guess I never really thought about telling you guys about bookmarks. Now that I'm on that, I have done tons of things for bookmarks, which are super fun. You could find like free ones on Pinterest that are cute, and you just print them out and cut them for the kids. You can just give them Post-its. I've done that before when I run out of other things. I actually had a book that totally fell apart this year. I could not fix it. So I actually took all the pages and I cut them into bookmarks. So that's super cute. What I've also done is you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's and you can get like the paint strips, like the samples that have like the paint colors on them. And I just like take a lot of those and use them as bookmarks. I know, like, I don't think that's stealing. They're for free. Okay, the second anchor chart that I will have up in my classroom is for the silent reading expectations in the room. Now, this might look a little bit different from class to class, but honestly, this is the anchor chart that should have as little diversity between all of us as possible. Here we go. So, the very first one, everyone reads. The second one is silently read for the entire time. So I set a timer for whatever amount of time we're going, and I say you start when I start the timer or before it. That's great. And then you end when that timer goes off. Not the timer's going off in a minute, so I'm putting my bookmark in. No, the timer goes off, and that's when you put your bookmark in. Number 3, choose your seat carefully. Now, disclaimer to this. If you are just starting and committing to this, I would not let the kids sit wherever they want. I had to work up to this comfort level with the kids to be able to do this. So now I do allow my kids to pick their seat. I would not start off with this if you have never done this before, because they will sit on the floor in the corner on a wall with 6 to 7 other kids. They will make eyes at each other. They will whisper. They will pass notes to each other. And reading will not be happening. They're going to do this. So I would have them in their seats and work up to allowing them to move, or you might never work up to allowing them to move, and that's totally fine. They don't need to be on the floor or need to be in flexible seating. I would work up to it. It is going to take more classroom management if you let them sit on the floor. You cannot just like sit in your desk if you're having them on the floor. Like, you got to be up and moving around if you are having them in flexible seating. It's just the name of the game. So again, I would really work up to that. Really work up to that. I would keep them in their seats for the first weeks, maybe even the first 2 or 3 months, for sure. All right, last one. I just have depends on what you want. I do allow my kids to, like, let's say Sophia finishes her book in the middle of us reading. I'll definitely allow her to go look at my library and make a new stack, or let me help her and pick a new book. Some teachers don't want their kids checking books in and out during that time, depending on your classroom management or like however you set this up. Like, it might be distracting, so that's honestly on you too. I allow my kids to go to the library while other kids are reading. So I'm fine with it. But again, that's you. Let's see, did I put anything else on my other one? If you want to come look at mine in the classroom, feel free. But this is the basics. Oh, I did put one other thing on mine. So I talked to the kids about like what reading actually looks like. So if I'm sitting there with this book, like what do my eyes look like? Because like I'm not just like glossed over and like looking up at the window. I'm not like looking over at my friend's face. Like you can tell when a person's eyes are moving from side to side, tracking the words. So I teach them that like, I know the difference of like what fake reading is. So on mine it says like track words from side to side. Yeah, I think that's really all I have on my Anchor charts though. So we're all good there. Okay, let's talk about student notebooks. So I have a student copy here, but I also have, and what I will recommend that you do is you have like a mock copy of what you want a student notebook to look like. So I set this up before the first day of school, and this is how like I do this under the Elmo, and I show the kids exactly what I want, what if I want the page number like numbered, it like what I want glued in, what I want written in the cover. I have my own. Here is an actual student one. Now, for independent reading, there's 3 different things in here for that. 2 of them are directly, like, basically copy and pasted from my best friend, Donna Lynn Miller, the author of The Book Whisperer. So, if you have not read this yet, I suggest it. Do it. So, the first thing that the student has is a book wish list, or like a book to read list, shopping cart. So this is honestly mostly used in the first week of school when I'm doing the book frenzy and I have 100 kids all looking for a book at the same time. I ask them to write a list of 10 books that they think they would want to read, and hopefully they will be able to get one of those books on the day that we pick our books. Okay, so I don't even make a cutout for it. This is literally just like the student just wrote onto the paper. The next thing is a cutout directly from the Book Whisperer. It's called the status of the class. Now, I use the status of the class in the first few weeks and first few months, and it really helps with holding the kids accountable to that reading time, because like you're checking in for like what they read that day. It's really, really, really easy to spot a fake reader if they make it up here. So after we read for the day, they'll fill this out, and then people have to share what they read that day. If you got a lot of kids, like the first few days, everybody shares. Everybody. So it does kind of take a while. As I ease into the second week, I may be like pulling names or pulling sticks, like whatever I'm doing that year. Or I'll do like these 2 pods are sharing today. And I always make it random, because I want them to feel like I might have to share today. And if I don't have something written or something prepared, then I'm going to be kind of embarrassed that I didn't read. So it weeds out your fake readers. I leave like 10 pages for it. But again, like after the first few weeks or first few months, like this tapers as we're doing lit circles and things like that. So it does not last the whole year. Last thing that I have for independent reading in the spiral is a My Reading wish list. So the kid can fill out what they read, the title, the author, the genre, the date they started, and the date they finished, and then a little rating scale of how they liked it. So after a kid reads, I'll say, hey, go fill out your star sheet. They go do that. They're done. I used to have way more cutouts and way more things that the kids had to do in the spiral for their independent reading, and it just became too much work for either me to keep up with or for the kids to keep up with. And at the end of the day, I want them to enjoy this. I don't want this to feel like work. So the 1-sentence summary to me for this independent reading is fine, is great, is perfect. I want reading to be fun for them. So I would not assign tons of stuff for your reader's notebook. I just wouldn't. But again, that's on you. what we'll look at now is your teacher binder. So some of these things in my teacher binder are also directly from the Book Whisperer. One thing is not, but again, I can share that with you, or it's really easy to set up with your own too. So I have 4 blocks of kids, and I have one binder for every block. And I have like these like really pretty tabbies. Is this upside down? Yep, this is upside down. These really pretty tabbies that are color-coded and numbered. So for every tab, that is for one student. So what I have inside the student tabs are like note pages. That this is directly from the Book Whisperer, note pages on just one kid. So this is just this student section. I have like, you know, I'll write the date on here. I have the kid's name. I have spaces for reading level, like what their test scores are. So when I'm conferencing with them, not that I'm gonna like share their test scores with them every day, but I can like recalibrate myself for the kid that I'm working with. Like, okay, where is this kid at, like mentally? Whether or not they read at home, whether or not they read at school, abandoned books, recommendations. I've like taken notes kind of all over the place. So yeah, and then this will be like when the student, like the next time, so I can get 3 conferences with this kid onto this one page. So once I've met with that student 3 different times, then I need to add a 3rd page, which you can see has a lot for this babe. So the next thing that is in here, which is actually one of my favorite. So every single class, you will have kids that will not weed themselves out with the status report. They will continue to be fake readers. You will learn them quick and you will love them. But they're gonna need more of your attention. And this is not like, you don't have to be mad at them. You don't have to be mad at them. Like, this reading thing for them might be totally new. I get a lot of kids that come to me that have never sat down and just read for fun a book. Like, it's kind of crazy. So they just might need more support. So what this page is, so let's say I have a kid, Brian, and he is fake reading. I might like say 1 or 2 things to him, but like if he's really like not like picking up what I'm putting down, then I'm going to let him do his thing for 2 or 3 days. And what I'm going to do for those 2 or 3 days is I am going to observe him secretly like a spy. So what this sheet is it goes by minutes. And for that 10-minute time that I'm observing Brian, is he reading that first minute? If it's a no, I'm then going to write down what he's actually doing. So breaking pencils, looking outside the window, writing a note to his friend, crumpling paper, blowing his nose 8 times. I'm going to write those things down. I can use these notes like either when I conference with Brian or if I'm needing to talk to his parents. Maybe it's like just gotten too far and I need to bring the parents in. I have documentation on what he's doing and I have like some form of proof over multiple days. So that student can't just say, that was that one day. It wasn't. I love this sheet. Okay. And then once I am done with like whatever, then I would like take this page and I would put it like in Brian's little tabby. The last thing that I have is, this one is not from the Book Whisperer. I found this somewhere else. Let me find a sheet that's not such a mess because some of these really got messy on me. I will check in with the kids every few days. Now, this is not a conference. This is, let's say, like I got a lot going on. I'm not able to do conferences for a few days, and I just want to check in on what the kids are reading and what page they're on and ensure that they're making progress within a week's time. So this, because I have 30 kids, I'll need like 2 sheets per class, but it has the kid's name. So all the kids will fit within 2 sheets. So this is, what is that, 12-4? I'm reading backwards. 12-4, I write down every title that the kids are reading and then the page number. And then I did this a lot. I must have been getting mad at them and like checking in with them every single day. I won't typically do that. I'll maybe do that like on a Monday or Tuesday, and then like at the end of the week to make sure that they read like an appropriate amount for their level. So then let's say I get to Friday and this student only read 7 pages in 5 days and like 20 minutes a day. Like, no, we're not doing that. So I would maybe like talk to that kid on that Friday as I'm like writing their page number down and be like, yo, like what was going on? Like if I hadn't already noticed, but like, well, what's going on? Like you only read 10 pages this week. Like that is not like you. Like, let's have a conversation about this. Like what's going on? I am able to hold them accountable on a day-to-day basis and not just like waiting. Because if I have a big class, I might only conference with a kid like once a month. And I cannot let 4 weeks go by, like not have a conversation with them about like whether or not they're actually reading. So this needs to happen once or twice a week at least. So conferencing plus like page check-ins. So I use this more than my conferencing pages, to be honest with you. So yeah, that is the only thing that's in my teacher binder. But again, like what you put in yours is totally on you. I do sometimes like at the back or wherever, like I'll have like my printout of NWEA scores. So if I need them, whatever. What's also going to come to you, and I'm going to have a different video about it, is like conference questions, and I will have all those printouts for you, and I'll talk about conferencing in a totally different video. So yeah, I don't think, at least for the setup of your room, I have anything else to share. If you have any questions, email me, come talk to me, text me. You know where my room is. What I will say, so next video is going to be about the first week and setting up anticipation and getting the kids pumped and getting those books in their hand and like your first few steps in building that stamina and building that excitement around this free reading program. So again, if you have any questions, contact me. Thanks so much. See you in a few weeks.